Greetings, traveler. You have found yourselves in a realm of mystery, surrealness, and, of course, spoopy times. Today's What If adventure is quite different from the usual fare, far from the typical paths these worlds tend to go. This time, we are experiencing something truly horrific, truly terrifying, and non-canon. Our tale speaks of a part of the Dragon World, which many believe to be legend, or pretty much non-existent. It depends on what thing you subscribe to. Ideally this channel. But sit back and relax, as much as you can, and let us experience the terror of the Blackwater Mist. It was a night as grim as a demon king's frown. Everything was silent, all the way from West City to Nicky Town. All the reptiles of Mount Palzu were sleeping in their caves in such darkness it's better to avoid the human enclaves. But even the boy who gnawed on their tails tonight felt quite queasy, and if your mother ordered you to read so much, you would be just as uneasy. The boy was most envious of his father, marooned deep in space.
Oh, what adventures must he be having while I am stuck in this place? Oh, Gohan, please, that's enough, said his mother dearest. Turn off the lights and go to sleep. Good night, my baby fearless.
And so poor Gohan tried hard to rest, as darkness seeped into the room. Too bad Chi-Chi didn't know that tonight, dark spelt doom. That night, above everyone's weary heads, where Kami had his place, someone had snuck in, but left behind no trace. An ancient foe from olden days desired the Guardian's crown. The foe let out a foul mist, the dreaded Blackwater Mist, and in its wake, the world drowned. In this telling, he was not alone. A dark alliance he had made. A vampire demon who despised the sun was pretty easily swayed. The two looked in terrible awe how the mist covered the land.
Look, Lucifer, there is no one to stop our plan so grand. This world so pitiful will soon kneel and cower before me. We will not be stopped by that foolish Kami and his warriors of Z.
They laughed together in the dark as the gloom kept slowly pouring, seeking for victim number one to make its night less boring. The desert bandit we traveled to and its cat were long asleep by now. Poor Yamcha, he got quite the shock to hear a growl instead of a meow. His good old fellow and friend Poir had been turned into a beast. Hey, why are you biting me? I'm not a cat food feast! But before Yamcha could realize that his fate was pretty grim, his fangs became proper wolf fangs, his life merely a whim. The next one to get struck by this heinous curse was the Triclops. The serious one had gotten even more dismal when Chaozu he had to stun. And then he had to infect him with this curse most heinous. The white of poor Chaozu's skin had now been replaced with grayness. As such, the army of the mist slowly, steadily kept growing. But there was one yet good soul that without the villains knowing had been immune to the curse. By Namekian blood, he was protected when he was cornered by his old allies by curse. He was not affected. That is right. Piccolo was the one to put a wrench in Garlic's plan. Though, all alone, against his friends, he could not save the sun, because Lucifer's part of the deal was even more nefarious. Not only change people into beasts, but using machines various. To end the daylight once and for all, and never again let the sun rise. And even though the man of green was experienced and wise, he was vastly outnumbered by demons in disguise. They wore bodies of Gohan and Bulma, oh, and of course, Krillin. But their eyes were red, their voices sharp, their breath felt straight up chilly. It's not easy to fight your friends, even when you're big green. After all, you care for them deeply, just pretending to be mean. And so, the day was done. Piccolo had to hide, like all the folk who, for all those years when problems came, were forced to wait for Goku. And, as time passed, the earth was transfigured into a kingdom of darkness, with Garlic and Lucifer imprisoning Kami, rendering Piccolo harmless. But there was a glimmer of hope, my friends, coming from space, a return of a hero. A hero that was quite surprised that his welcome committee was equal to 0. As Goku left his pod from space, he quickly realized that there was something very wrong with the sunless sky upon which he gazed. Was it Frieza's anger after his defeat? Was it Pilaf's wish that made the world so bleak? Our Saiyan had to investigate. Move carefully with his new Yardratian technique. When he arrived home, he was terrified. Instead of a friendly dinner, he was almost devoured by his wife and son, no less. Who is the monster that was responsible for this mess? "Don't let them bite you!" shouted a familiar voice.
Piccolo, what happened?
Having an ally made him almost rejoice. "We have no time for this. I shall explain later." And so, the two had to regroup in a Saiyan space pod crater. Then Piccolo told Goku about the whole terrible tale of Garlic and Lucifer, which made Goku pale.
They imprisoned Kami? They got rid of the sun? It sounds to me like the bad guys have already won.
The only way to throw Garlic down from Kami's throne is to put that monster back in the dead zone.
So what do? We're outnumbered. I don't want to hurt our friends, but for our blood they hunger.
Piccolo pondered, looking pretty formal. "That's it. It's decided. We shall summon Shenron and wish them back to normal." So they came to Capsule Corp, the former bastion of ingenuity, to acquire the Dragon Radar, restore the Dragon Team's unity. They had to fight a bloodthirsty doctor and his hungry, voracious wife. Luckily, together, they came out victorious from this bizarre strife. The radar was hidden inside the confines of Bulma's room. This trusty device will surely save Earth from certain doom. And so, the Namekian and his Saiyan companion visited every lake, every mountain, and every canyon, just to find 7 wish-granting crystal balls, and hopefully watch on as the evil plan falls. But when they called the dragon, something went disastrously wrong.
What has happened to you, Shenron? Were you corrupted all along?
They quickly realized that the nefarious bandwagon has used the Blackwater Mist to subvert the dragon. All the demons and all the vampires were therefore summoned, and the circle around them started shrinking and closing. Goku looked at Piccolo, making one last joke before his mind was taken.
I really hope, my friend, that you taste like bacon.
And so they kept fighting, as the Vampiric Legion kept growing and growing. But their story ends here, without us knowing if they had survived. Did they run away? Or have a sensu bean? Garlic had won, but that's Halloween. There's no reason to panic. There are still some Dragon Balls back on planet Namek. I do hope this tale of filler has not unsettled you, dear viewer, as the time of light and sunshine grows ever fewer. Leave a comment below to tell me of your thoughts. Did this fill you with thrills or make you most fraught? Until next time, all I wish are for days greater and greater. And as always, my listeners, I shall catch you later. Greetings, traveler. Last year you found yourself in a realm of mystery, surrealness, and of course, spooky times. Today, you'll find yourself back in that very same place, but this time, there is more. This week, you will not have one, but many fantastic but frightening tales to do with this, the most horrific month of them all. I hope you have prepared yourself, friends, for this is going to get rather terrifying. We are going into that territory that is Dragon Ball filler. I know, my friends, it's rather shocking, but I'm here to help you traverse this path and come out the other side. What state you will be in will depend on how you take the next chapter of our ongoing tale of the terror of the Blackwater Mist. Let us continue. Last year, the tale ended, but you asked for more. Brave from you to assume that it would end differently than it had before. But what can a crypt keeper do when the audience is asking? After all, Halloween is the night everlasting. And although so many stories have I opened pending, on this scary night they do not need a good ending. For it be rare around here to have such a scene, akin to Goku married Bulma, part 17. Thusly, a new peril is coming to the small blue planet. Seems that this world cannot get some rest. Oh, damn it. The evil emperor was coming to enact his revenge. His father was there, so he could avenge. The simple fact that his son, now metallic and clunky, can attribute this state to a blast from a Saiyan monkey. But the planet was dark and gloomy, unfit for their foes. Even the frost demon had their spines shiver as their blood then froze. All right, son, we are here, though I must object. This is not at all what you told me to expect.
Oh, Daddy, this is new, I have to admit. But we cannot let the monkeys think that we have quit. Of course, the sky is rather dark, and this night seems eternal. But we are the superior forces, higher and external.
and they would be talking for hours and hours, if not for a sound that the silence devours. An unearthly grunt from a monstrous mouth. My lords, I think it came from the south, said one of the troopers, scared by the sound so spooky. Frieza shot his head, whilst not even looking. We don't need cowards. There is nothing to fear, other than my anger, if that wasn't clear. Scout the place, you fools, and find me the Saiyan. I want his friends and family at my feet, all strangled and laying. And so the soldiers, afraid of their master's wrath, had to search every town, go down every path, to discover to their utmost fear and Frieza's irritation that something has already numbered the local population. Well, not numbered per se. The truth was even scarier. They were changed into beasts without wit, scruple, or mental barrier. And though seemingly primitive, wild, and not the brightest, they gave the Frieza troop a tough fight, not easy in the slightest. The evil emperors started to lose their composure from this drawn-out fight. Son, let's just blow up the planet and show them our might. Personal revenge is no longer a priority. If you won't destroy the whole world, at least blast this city. And although Frieza wanted to protest, due to this crazed zombie mass, he agreed with his father and prepared a blast. Though he wanted to get it done, destroy the infected, he quickly discovered that the blast was deflected. Someone was still standing, not taken by disease, and his power was enough to make Frieza freeze. He looked to the Emperor, one of his men he chopped. Either get out of my way, or you need to be stopped! This youth, this light-haired youth, Frieza's mouth was saying, somehow was another blasted Super Saiyan. In normal circumstances, without all the zombies, Frieza would object. Allying with a monkey? That's a grim prospect. But maybe this arrogant folk who dared to oppose him knew where they could find Goku. Stop right there, you sword-wielding deuce. I know we have our differences, but maybe we should call a truce. To ally myself with an evil one will be a thing most unkind. Consider your evil offer thrown away, disregarded and declined. Oh, come on, Sword Boy. How could you be so blind? My son only wants a rematch, and you probably hope to save your kind. A common enemy can make us stand united. This army is simply too much for you to simply stand and fight it. There was some wit in Cole's rosy speech, but the boy knew that at some point the truce would be breached. Fine, he said. Let us find the architect of this mess. As you said yourself, an alliance of three is stronger nevertheless. And so they searched the land far and wide. They passed the mountains and the great divide. As they saw the castle foul and towering, and in front of the castle, an evil gathering. Garlic, Lucifer, and their strongest minions. Amongst them, Goku, Piccolo, and the other civilians. Look how the monkey has fallen, taken by some imp. We'll be taken as well if we underestimate that wimp. But Frieza wasn't listening. He was keen on beating his foe. He charged at Goku, but he didn't know that the power of the Blackwater made Super Saiyans so strong that it didn't matter. That Frieza had upgrades and technical advantage. Right now, no healing nor bandage would save him from a beating. That Son Goku was handling all the heavy hitting. Cole tried to help his son blast Garlic with ferocity, but he did not know about immortality. Cole was quickly cornered and surrounded by mist. Trunks had to behead him in a shocking twist. Before he was turned and decided to retreat, this enormous army was impossible to beat. He ran away. The chase had been lost, but the loss of Goku was a terrible cost. Trunks had to think quickly and help hold the line. Maybe he could find some allies in another time. There was just one problem, previously unseen, because someone had stolen Trunks' time machine. What will he do now? How long can he hide? Can another vehicle secretly be made? But the greatest irony which this story calls, Trunks had never learnt about Namekian Dragon Balls. Will he ever, though? Oh, that depends. But for now, this is how the story ends. Well, you see, we've been scaring you for enough time, and it's kind of hard to make this story rhyme. But fear not, my friends. Expect intrigue and twist in next year's part 3 of the Black Water Mist. After last year, things looked grim, and we promised you a conclusion. Everyone's turning into bloodthirsty monsters, causing you confusion. Can it be? Are there no heroes left? Has the dragon world been finally lost? Well, listen carefully. This is Blackwater number 3, and I am your host. So Freezer and Cold gave in to insanity. They were crazy before, but this is just a frenzy, pure inanity. And Trunks, our precious boy from the future, just learned the hard way that this timeline would need some stooges. And his vessel was gone, the one that travels through time. Who could have been responsible for such a heinous crime? Trunks had no answers, but he knew he had to run. Luckily for us, he was a rather crafty son of a gun. And this gun's name was Vegeta. So Bulma's curiosity was balanced out well by his sheer ferocity. But the night was eternal, and the monsters were many. How on earth can he stop their masters from creating any? He would have to get close to the puppet masters, avoiding the legion of their minions with eyes like bloody jaspers. Something that he realized, and what gave him some hope, was the fact that Piccolo was still around when he ran yelling, "No!" And as such, the solution to end this dark narration lied within headquarters of Capsule Corporation. To not keep you waiting, looking for plot holes, yes, there still might be a radar to find the Dragon Balls. Still, the weight of the choice filled Trunks with dread. Should he undo the Blackwater spell, or just go for the head? What good would it be if he broke the spell, if Lucifer and Garlic could just recreate it, and swiftly compel everyone to follow them again, even fiercer than before, making sure that he won't mess with their plans anymore? But, on the other hand, Goku would be there. Maybe he could stop them before they take care of their plans, crumbling before their very eyes, not realizing that their future is not looking so nice. But then it struck him and filled him with doubts. Didn't he already hear draconic roars amongst the shouts? Did those two mad villains actually do it? Did they subvert Shenron and already they blew it? Then what else is there to do if this option is gone? How can future Trunks hope to fight the future and face them all alone? Well, maybe he cannot restore everyone just yet, but he cannot give up to this panic. He cannot simply let the imp and the demon just win his planet. He will find them an enemy if he simply cannot face against them in a direct approach. He needs to be clever, just as Gohan coached. So he decided to come up front and scream at their gates, all right, you won! But what fate?" The villains took this moment to watch him from the terrace.
Look, Lucifer, why is he here? Is it to embarrass himself and all his puny race? It seems pretty bold to show his ugly face.
Ah, Garlic, my dear friend, let us enjoy his breakdown. Nothing is as tasty as seeing the world drown in both darkness and outpour of black water mists. Let the boy scream, if he so insists. We have won anyway. Let him cry his blood. He can't lose the dragon, because we have captured Kami. And yes, locked in the bottle, Kami was a prisoner in the hands of the imp. Trunks tried to look scared and defeated. he used their gloating to then simply greet them, "So, powerful Lucifer, and you Garlic too. Who is the master, and who is the servant from the two of you?" Garlic smiled with a wicked grin.
Well, isn't it obvious? It is me. I'm the green and mean. After all, my mists are the sole and only reason that defenders of Earth know only hunger, craze, and treason.
Lucifer coughed loudly, attracting their attention. "Excuse me, my friend. You forgot to mention how my Night Eternal amplified your spell. With it, we have Shenron. Without it, oh well.
Oh, yes, we control him, and yet he can't grant wishes.
I am working on it," Lucifer angrily twitches. "It would be easier if your stupid spells didn't dull his mind."
Oh, yeah? Damn you and your whole vampiric kind.
"Don't mess with me, you impish little runt. We are using my castle. You're merely my grunt."
If it's about the castle, I will claim the throne.
Garlic screeched at the vampire and opened up the dead zone. This was the moment that Trunks was waiting for. He charged on Garlic, broke the bottle, and Kami was restored. And before the zombies managed to arrive, he sent both the villains for a forced dive into the portal of the dead zone, where Garlic usually ends up, with a scream and a swear. Then, to avoid the monsters, Trunks grabbed the old man to the highest tower. They both had to run, and they broke the contraption that Lucifer made. Trunks has shattered the sun-blocking device with a swipe of his trusty blade. Then Kami called Shenron upon him and yelled, "Come to my senses, my friend. Someone has hexed you. You have been compelled." With the help of the Namekian, the dragon was sane again. The zombies were near. "What is your bidding, Kami? Bring back to their senses everybody here." And so the spell was broken. Everyone felt silly. They could not remember why they were here, really. Frieza tried to go for some killing and destroying, but Goku was behind him, so he stopped enjoying. "What has happened to him?" the friendly saying greeted him, when Frieza and his dad got a good old school beating. Kami thanked Trunks. "Thank you, oh kind stranger. You have saved the Earth in the face of danger. I'm afraid that I will be stuck here for a while. But at least I am glad that your world is not defiled." Everything looked happier. Bad guys had been stopped. But don't you think that there is one small detail that we may have forgot? You see, what happened to Trunks' trusty timey vessel? Was that a couple of zombies falling into it? After a small wrestle, they launched it by accident? Or where could it be? Well, it has traveled back to the times of the original DB. And it is such a shame, my listeners dearest, that they cannot win. This is the end of those lyrics.
Bum bum bum. Next episode.
Hey folks, Masako X here. You might think that we are being...
No.
Hi everyone, Donut here. Today we're going to talk about a shooting where the suspect went down pretty quick and the officers about caught many rounds right to their faces, but they didn't. The dog's barking outside again. Shut the fuck up! It only starts barking when I start making videos.
I hear you.
San Diego, a place that's a lot cooler than
Two.
dirty hobo needle poo-poo land, California.
Both my
Did you
dogs
guys
heard
know
it.
that I quit Navy SEAL school the day that the Elder Scrolls Skyrim came out on 11/11/11? I was like, I don't want to be a SEAL anymore. I just want to go home and play Elder Scrolls Skyrim. This shit's cold and I don't feel good. You know what sounds cooler? Elder Scrolls Skyrim. Oh yeah, that's right. I'm a huge nerd, guys. But you know what? If Skyrim wouldn't have happened, then I wouldn't be doing police breakdowns. I might be writing a book like every other Navy SEAL. Guys, I had a crazy fucking day. I can't tell you about it right now. Attorneys and crazy people were involved. One day I'm gonna let you know. It's pretty rad. First off, this video is sponsored by Helix.
It's getting pretty late. You want to go?
Yeah, I like to.
Ah, yeah, we could totally up our game with Helix.
We're gonna so hard on this mattress.
Yeah, you take that.
Why do you keep bleeping out sleep?
Well, it's kind of fun. Look, try it.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna so hard.
I can't wait to.
Oh yeah, give me that sleep.
What if you wanted a brand new, very comfortable mattress, but you didn't know quite what you needed? What if there was a place online where you could go do a quiz and figure out right away what kind of mattress you need and order it? Helix! Oh, no. 34. I don't need to mess this up. We'll go with 110. How does D-Nut sleep? Soft, medium, firm. I wake up with back pain? Oh, dude, come on. I was in the Navy and a cop. There's my mattress, the Helix Dawn Luxe. Helix Sleep is premium mattresses customized to fit your needs, conveniently shipped to your front door. I think I got my first Helix about a year ago, and I love it. They bring it to your front door, you pull it into the bedroom, take it out of the box, and it inflates itself. They offer a 100-night sleep trial to see if you like it. They have a 10-year warranty, and they also offer financing and flexible payment plans. Head on over to helixsleep.com/donut-operator to get $200 off your mattress and 2 free, very comfortable pillows. Anyways, San Diego.
Which of course in German means a whale's vagina.
10/18/2022. Police received calls of a man with a gun in a church parking lot.
RP no longer has visual. 5 to 6 minutes ago, there was a black male who was in the parking lot to the church waving a gun around.
Then they received calls of a man waving a gun around a Chinese restaurant.
Just a guy, he's black guy. He come inside my restaurant. He walk around. I don't know. He's kind of crazy. And I saw he dropped kind of gun earlier.
He dropped a gun?
Yeah, and he picked it up really quick, tried to hide it, and then I don't know. He's kind of crazy.
Not cool. This part kind of cracks me up. On the official San Diego police YouTube channel, they put business name redacted right there in the corner for the name where the suspect was waving around a gun, but they put an exact like dot right here where the business is. Like, how could we ever figure out where the business? Oh, there's a Chinese place right there called the Great Wall Express. Exactly where you where you put the dot. But I'm sorry. Business name redacted. We don't want people to know about the top secret Chinese restaurant where Ash is waving a gun around. Spoilers, it's this place right here. Ew, that looks like shit. There's a fucking spaghetti and rice with some marinara on it. What the fuck is this? I'm sorry, that was very mean of me. You could have great food. I know the nail joint right behind it don't got great nails. I was looking at that earlier. If we go to PJ's Haircuts, I don't know about them nails right there. I definitely wouldn't get my hair did there. Anyways, shootings. Again, sorry to release all that top secret information, San Diego Police Department, you sneaky sluts. So the guy takes his gun and goes into the top secret taco place that's next door.
I just left that taco shop on 47th
Oh boy.
and National, and there was this gentleman in there. He was acting very crazy, and he had a gun on the table.
Reports of a man with a gun at a taco shop next across the street. Where could this place be? I don't know. Maybe the taco shop right there. Oh no, I'm releasing secret information again. So now we got 3 calls from 3 different citizens who probably pay taxes and aren't pieces of shit, saying there's an irresponsible gun owner waving a gun around. He could be crazy, could be on drugs, or both. What do we know? Either way, that's a hairy call to respond to, like every hairy call on this channel. What are my cats doing? Jesus, guys, can you believe these guys? Cheese. Lord have mercy on my soul when it comes to you. Have you guys met Cheese on the main channel? I know you met them on the second channel. You guys want to meet Cheese real quick? Oh, this is Cheese, aka Big Fat Gray Whore.
Kitty. Look at Kitty.
I want to die.
You don't want to go to the top secret Chinese restaurant, do you? The shooting that we're about to watch, if you couldn't believe it, goes from 0 to 100 in about 2 seconds, because that's what we do here. I show you the dangers of law enforcement, then we discuss it in a calm, rational manner in the comments below.
Oh!
31 Quebec, shots fired!
The officers matrix the shit out of this one on complete accident. Bullets are literally flying all around them. You can see the officer's window shatter from one of the suspect's bullets. I'm pretty sure the suspect hits the officer's mirror right when he pulls up. The 2 officers return fire and dude goes down hard. They definitely pushed an off button on that one. I think there's been a recently released scientific study on this exact moment. Here's a clip.
See, as you can see, the more you fuck around, the more you're gonna find out.
Because the suspect is still tightly grasping the gun in his hand, they don't really want to move up on him because he could be playing possum like a little sneaky slut. There's a lot of controversy online about handcuffing someone who's clearly been schwacked by the police. They got a couple bullet holes in them, but you know, adrenaline and people getting shot and not knowing if they're dead or not is a hell of a thing. That's why cops handcuff people, despite having a lot of holes in them. Why take chances on some shithead that's trying to murder you? Turns out he was shooting at cops with a Glock 44. If you don't know anything about Glocks, the nomenclature behind naming them is f***ed up as a football bat. He was shooting at him with a Glock 44, right? Guess what that shoots? Tell you in a minute. As far as the chocolate cheese that is naming Glocks, the Glock 22 shoots 40 caliber bullets. The Glock 20 shoots 10mm bullets. The Glock 45 shoots 9mm bullets. And the Glock 38 shoots 45 caliber bullets. The suspect, like I said, was shooting at cops with a Glock 44. That shoots 22 caliber bullets, the most worthless round ever. I don't want to say worthless, but there are bigger rounds out there that could hurt someone. It's not all complete gibberish though. Each one is named after the patents that Mr. Glock filed to make his guns and stuff. Something like that. Just watch Brandon's channel if you want to learn about guns. Which brings me to my next point. What the f are you? Oh, you were fucking with my berserks again, aren't you? Do you see? You were being an ass. Do you know how much those things cost? Speaking of, before I was so rudely interrupted by Cheese destroying my $200 Berserk Limited Edition Volume 3, oh, you little shit. I see you. I see you. 22 rounds will still f you up. Make sure to watch the video that I just made with Brandon Herrera, where we take out the American 180, one of my dream guns. We finally got our hands on one.
You shooting an AM 180?
Yeah, we are. You want to come?
Yeah. Fuck yeah.
If you don't remember, I geeked out about this gun a couple of years ago on one of my other videos about classic police training. I'll link that video in the comments below. What the fuck is that? You had a top-loading Thompson? What is that? Is it 22? In Brandon's video.
That looks fucking awesome. We got the stretchies.
السلام عليكم يا شباب، اهلا بكم في فيديو جديد وهو فن انيميشن تكمله طبعا للاحداث اللي فاتت اللي شفتوها قبل كده.
Stretchies. We got the stretchies. Oh yeah. Stretch.
殺すためになったんじゃない。全部守ってやるって思ってます。イノセンスよ、僕はこの道を歩き続けると決めたんだ。どうか安らかに。私が相手をしてやろう。メダカボックス、メダカちゃんと呼ぶがよい。黒髪メダカだ。悪いことしたら私は味方のみならず
食欲が湧いてくる。美味しそうな謎があるぞ。謎の匂いだ。我が輩が大好きな我が輩を誰だと思っている。
يكون الفيديو عجبكم يا شباب، واستنوا الجزء التاني وباقي الاجزاء منه قريب ان شاء الله، ويا ريت تسيبوا ارائكم عنه في التعليقات.
In April of 2006, the small town of Medicine Hat woke up to some terrible news. 3 members of the Richardson family had been murdered, with their second child missing. Now, we all hold our own perceptions of what a spree killer looks like, and nobody expected that the family's young, innocent daughter could be in on this terrible crime. But as you will soon discover, there were many awful thoughts and motives unfurling behind the eyes of this child. This case is a strange one to say the least. It features the internet from the mid-2000s, an extremely questionable romance, and apparently 300-year-old werewolves. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, folks.
Seen this one.
My name is Adrian, and welcome back to another video by Coffee House Crime.
This video is brought to you by NordVPN. Well, I got screwed, and let me tell you why. So back in January of this year, I uploaded a video where I allegedly said that Peppa Pig was being ripped off by a show on YouTube called Wolfoo. Wolfoo is, I mean, you take a look at it, judge for yourself. Yeah, you know, it's your opinion. I'm not gonna say one way or another at this point, but you know, you can form your own judgment on the matter. But my video was taken down. To be fair, I took it down, but I was told to. I was asked to. There seems to be this process when it comes to lawyers where they can, you know, kind of flex their financial muscles and say, hey, you can take the video down or you can go to court. And yeah, I don't really want to go to court and fight a Vietnamese company. Not for me, no thank you. So Wolfoo, which is owned by the company of S-Connect, they are currently actually in the lion's den themselves when it comes to lawsuits because they're being sued by the owners of Peppa Pig, the company called Entertainment One, aka E1. And when I made my video back in January, I was just kind of covering and providing context of the situation about Wolfoo, how it is a YouTube sensation, how there's multiple channels and some of them having over 10 million subscribers, and how they bring in billions, with a B, billions of views per month. They are rolling in it. And let's be honest as well, it's low quality entertainment. This definitely kind of falls in line with YouTube's content nowadays when it comes for kids, where it is quantity over quality. Content, just overwhelming content. And they decided to take the approach of saying, hey, look at our little Anthro family. Isn't it cute? It's simple. Listen to little simple sound effects. Again, doesn't remind you of anything. Well, the company of Entertainment One, who own Peppa Pig, decided to square up and take it to court. And I'm a little bit confused over the entire logistics of these court proceedings and cases, because there's the entire issue of what exactly is copyright law in an international sense, because there are different countries with different judicial jurisdictions and laws. Just because fair use exists in the US does not mean it applies everywhere. China is notorious for ignoring fair use because they don't care. They're like, that's an American law, not ours, so don't care. And that's why so much bootleg content, copyright violations come from China, because they just don't care. And you know, hey, I guess that's just the nature of the beast. But from what I could tell, for Peppa and Wolfoo, is that there is enough of a legal footprint with these companies to create court proceedings.
Let's go get now.
Wolfoo and its company S-Connect is located in Vietnam. They've been uploading since 2014, and they've made a massive name for themselves. I don't think it's really well earned when it comes to quality, but when it comes to just sheer quantity, yeah, they hustle. And they said, and I'm just gonna be vague because I need to be careful because I don't want to get sued, I just don't. I'm just relaying what I was told and what I have observed and news and sticking to the facts. Basically, my video, according to them, defamation, copyright infringement, trademark infringement, though it's, you know, in my opinion, none of those things. I think within the jurisdiction of American law, I was exercising my right of fair use. I was commentating on the situation, explaining it, transformative work because it's reporting. But I'll be real, fair use, that isn't YouTube's job. They don't really care. They have their system, but there's a certain point when a company is looking at a creator right in the eyes and say, we'll go to court. YouTube washes their hands of it and says, it's on you. And I, again, did not want to go to court and fight this out. It's just not worth it. So I washed my hands of it. The video's gone. And could I go to court and fight and potentially win? Maybe. I don't want to F around and find out, though. It's just too expensive. Which goes to show how inherently broken the system is. Because companies know they can flex, and usually that's enough to intimidate a lowly creator to stand down, which, ta-da, that's exactly what happened with me. I wish I had enough of a backbone to stand up, but I just don't have hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars like they do to go to court, because they are fired up right now. Let me tell you. I think they found my video. They saw what I said and my alleged accusations about Peppa Pig, how they're currently battling it out with E1 and Peppa Pig, and they're like, this video is gas in the fire, take it down. And it's like, okay, I guess I'll take it down, because I don't want to get sued. So now the ball's in the court with E1, Peppa, and with S-Connect with Wolfu. According to articles and my research, the court proceedings were starting to roll out in January, and it wasn't until just recently where they were gaining tractions. I got my I guess in a manner of speaking, cease and desist from S-Connect back in September. I followed through. But it wasn't only until like a week or so ago, at the time of uploading this video, that there was actually a development from S-Connect and E1. There was some court proceedings in Moscow, of all places, in Russia, where the Russian Federation dismissed E1's case. Because E1 was saying, this is obviously copyright infringement of our characters. It's taking the visual style and vibes and aesthetic and characters and just everything. And S-Connect and Wolfu are taking just far too many liberties copying us, so we're gonna sue. Well, the court cases in Moscow, they said, well, we kind of are in favor of S-Connect, so we're throwing out the case. E1 saying,
the question is about coming out to students.
No, never. Okay.
Excuse me, if y'all didn't know, this is the MSC, and frankly, there's just too many white people in here. This is a space for people of color.
So we're all trying to get along. Diversity is our greatest strength, right? Now we're segregating people into tiny groups. I'm missing something here.
Really cognizant of the space that you're taking up, because it does make some of us POCs uncomfortable when we see too many white people in here. It's only been open for 4 days, and frankly...
Wait a second here. So when did, I guess she called herself a POC, those folks become uncomfortable around people like me? I just don't see it. But I think we've got a group of people who've been trained this way. They were raised under a generation that says, I was never proud of America. America's not exceptional. And then we get this. Yay.
There's the whole university for a lot of y'all to be at, and there's very few spaces for us. So keep that in mind. Thank you.
So it's gonna do what it do.
I'm proud to be black. All right, so what we got here is a group of black people, white people. And they say, if you're black, are you proud to be black? And if you're white, are you proud to be white? And the outcome is what you'd think it would be. But why is that? So we're just, let me let you watch it. Why? Right. Of course.
Well, all right, y'all.
All right. All right, so how many of these people, this whole line of people, are going to say they're proud to be white? So black folks said all of them are proud to be black. White folks in the group we got, this generation, right, the TikTok generation, has been trained to hate themselves. They're somehow the oppressor, and everybody else is the oppressed. 3, 2, 1. Go.
Just be in the middle. Yeah. Can there be a middle?
All right.
All right, so about half of them are proud to be white. Now, I don't know why you wouldn't just say you're proud to be, because that's what you are. So if you're not proud of yourself, we start off with a big problem.
Pick a side. Pick a side. I don't know which side to pick. Don't hate you guys.
I almost went there too. It's like
I think
so
like
hard.
guiltily, like I'm like happy that I'm not oppressed, but I'm not proud of like things people have done in the past.
Now, this one on the screen is not unique. You've got a group of soccer moms on Facebook who say they've got white privilege and they oppress somebody Their family could have came here in the 1930s from Russia, but somehow or the other they've been brainwashed to think this is an important way of making themselves and their kids feel like shit. And it ends up with a bunch of people that are unhappy.
Let's talk about dating preferences. This video was so good, you must watch it, and I want to branch off.
All right, this is another one that you can't win. I got one ask from you. Do me a favor, because, you know, YouTube likes to give me the little strikes once in a while. Open up another tab, go to odinsmen.com, sign up on my mailing list, make sure I can keep in touch with you. And if you like this stuff, so when this happens and I get the big axe, that we can find each other.
Often talk about how it relates to fat phobia and dating. A lot of times when people are asked, why don't you date fat people, trans people, people of color, whatever, they will say, it's just a preference. I'm just not attracted to them.
That would be what it is, right? So if you choose not to date somebody, like, you don't like really tall guys, for example, it is a preference. If you like really short guys, that would be your preference of what you dig. So that's never an issue until we get into large women, the Dylans of the world, right? People with one of these operations. So, you know, you think that would be okay, but it's not.
I can't make myself be attracted to someone I'm just not attracted to.
No.
The implication here being that preferences are innate, unchanging, and completely independent of any outside factors or societal norms. And therefore,
I don't know what that gobbledygook exactly meant, but what does it really matter if you were encouraged to be that way? Let me give you an example. You grew up and there was a fat girl who's really nice to you, and that made you just into fat girls, and that was your preference because in your head as a child, that's just what it is. You're not going to recreate the wheel. You can't talk it to death with psychiatry and psychology.
Yeah.
That's just what you did.
they're inherently unproblematic. Like, it's
God, I
not
hate
fat
that.
phobia, it's just who I am. I can't help it.
I can't watch all that.
Batman versus his greatest challenge ever. Today we're going to explore the Elseworlds story known as The Doom That Came to Gotham. Here is Comic Storian, and I read audio dramas of your favorite comic books. I cut down on the panels and the B-plots, and I give you the core of the story. This allows you to see what books are out there and what you want to add to your collection by visiting your local comic book store. Or you can visit our sponsor, Shortboxed, to find a way to build that impressive collection that your friends will end up upon. Another bad night. The men are on edge. The dogs will not leave the ship. Dick begins to read, and he goes through several days as Cobblepot records the worsening conditions. But his prose grows shorter. What is in the ice? How does it know my name? Dick reads the questions. Meanwhile, Bruce now looks up on a nearby hill, seeing a short, naked man walking along the ridge. Cobblepot, is that you? He shouts, but the man turns away. Walk, he calls, as he waddles off.
We are still black in this country. We don't trust this country in terms of meritocracy always. We know the bottom line is that just like women are underpaid compared to male counterparts, blacks are underpaid compared to white counterparts. And so when you look at it from that perspective, and of course, people look at me, I'm not talking about me, even though I got news for you. I am underpaid compared to some people on television and what they get paid, but that's a subject for another day. I ain't apologizing for that to a damn soul. I am underpaid. Having said all of that, it ain't about me.
Poor you. I don't get paid enough.
Cried like that since Titanic.
I should get paid.
Hey guys, welcome back.
13 million.
So now brace yourselves, because we're getting back into Jason Aaron's Avengers, which has so much going on at the same time,
shit.
which is why for this video, we're just going to focus on what's happening with Mephisto and the Council of Red, because
It's something I'll watch later. It's long. What is this? Run him off the road! Wow. I don't live there.
Your attention, please. If you need assistance, please notify the theater box office or concession manager.
Years ago, I uncovered the mysterious missing persons case of Amy Lynn Bradley, who vanished on a cruise ship back in 1998. In this episode of Seriously Strange, we revisit this case and uncover more of the disturbing details behind it than I was originally able to. So turn off the lights, settle in, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel, because you won't want to miss what I have next. Now, let's begin. This episode sponsored by Fishing Clash. Have you ever found yourself wanting to go fishing, but the kraken in the lake near your house keeps trying to eat you? Or maybe you're like me and you caught a pair of underwear as a kid and now you're emotionally scarred? Well, worry no more, because Fishing Clash has got you covered. With great graphics, a large assortment of rods and lures, and tons of insane fish to catch, there's no wonder why Fishing Clash is so popular. You can now sit at the shore or even in a boat and cast a line out into the water anytime you want. And you can fish from tons of different locations around the world with breathtaking scenery. I really enjoy the lures in this game. They don't make it so you can only get certain fish with certain lures, you know what I mean? Any fish go for any lure, but the better the lure, the bigger the fish. So you can start catching rare fish right away. Then use the boost buttons next to the bait tab on the home screen to engage power-ups that'll help you land that lump. The more you fish, the better you get with fun weekly competitions and tons of upgrades for your equipment and skills to help you catch better fish. You can also create or join fishing clans and play with friends to decide once and for all who is the most awesome angler. And until the end of October, Fishing Clash is holding a Halloween event that will have you reeling. Get it? Take part in the event, solve daily riddles, and join in on a special competition for rewards. It's a fantastically frightening fish frenzy. It's open from level 10 and up, and you won't want to miss it. So take your mighty pole in hand and become the leader of the lakes, the overlord of the oceans, the potentate of the ponds, and download Fishing Clash by using my link in the description or the QR code on screen now. Then use my gift code RobGavigan. That's gift code RobGavigan for a free gift valued at $20 for all new players. You'll receive a 3-star rod, a dolphinfish mythical lure, 50 luck power-ups, and 30 weight power-ups, which allow you to catch BBFs. That's big, beautiful fish. Thanks for listening, and now let's dive back into the episode. This is a case of an especially cautionary nature and is one that I covered briefly in one of my earliest episodes of Seriously Strange. It's been the better part of a decade since then, but unfortunately, Amy Lynn Bradley is still missing. It was late March of 1998. Amy Lynn Bradley and her family were enjoying a cruise ship vacation. It was a prize that Amy's father had won and was supposed to be a fun, carefree time. It turned into the whole Bradley family's worst nightmare, and into a mystery that has lingered and haunted America ever since. The Bradley family boarded the Rhapsody of the Seas, a cruise ship operated by Royal Caribbean. The ship itself had only taken its maiden voyage less than a year before Amy and her family took their trip. Capacity to carry over 3,000 people, a cruise ship of its size is like a floating city on the ocean. The possibility of becoming lost is a good one if you don't know where you're going, or if there isn't someone around to assist you, or even worse, if there are people lurking on board who are looking to make sure you get lost to begin with. Amy was only 23, young, beautiful, with a long future ahead of her. She'd recently graduated from college in Virginia and had gotten a degree in physical education. She lived an active lifestyle, frequently playing basketball and working as a lifeguard. On Saturday, March 21st of 1998, Amy Lynn Bradley left aboard Rhapsody of the Seas from San Juan, Puerto Rico, and traveled to the island of Aruba, where it arrived safely. 2 days later, on March 23rd, it departed from Aruba, traveling in international waters. Its destination was Curacao, Netherlands Antilles. It was during the early hours of March 24th, while approaching Curacao, that Amy Lynn Bradley vanished. The night prior to her disappearance, Amy had been hanging out with her brother Brad, and the two decided to drop by the ship's nightclub to do some dancing. A videographer who was also present in the nightclub was filming the venue and unknowingly captured some of the only evidence of the events that led up to Amy's disappearance. Watching the footage, you can see Amy dancing and enjoying herself. She had been drinking for quite some time by this point and was very likely more than a little intoxicated. During some of the footage, Amy can be seen dancing with the bass player of Blue Orchid, the ship's band, a man by the name of Alistair Douglas, who went by the nickname Yellow. This can be seen in footage as well. Amy didn't return to their room until around 3:40 a.m., where her father Ron awoke as she entered the room. Brad had already returned and told Amy that he loved her before retiring.
Okay, I know.
According to Ron,
I don't
Amy
need your
claimed
kisses.
that she'd been feeling
Not on my
a bit
face.
seasick and wanted to get some fresh air while she slept, so she decided
Nibble
to
me.
sleep out on the room's balcony. Her father awoke again later and looked out on the balcony through the closed glass door and could see Amy asleep, and as it was still early, he ended up drifting back to sleep himself. It was merely half an hour later, at roughly 6 a.m., when Ron woke up once more, but this time the balcony door was open slightly, and Amy was gone.
Hey.
Amy wasn't the type to wake up that early in the morning, especially after such little sleep. He figured she must have gone to the top deck, so he wasted no time in heading up and looking for her, but he couldn't find her anywhere. The now worried father was confused, as Amy wasn't reckless like this. It was entirely unlike her to just up and leave and not say anything. Upon further investigation, Amy's family determined that she had clearly changed her clothes and had taken her cigarettes. It seemed as though she deliberately planned to go somewhere between 5:30 and 6 a.m., but no one had seen Amy leave or even where she was heading, until a witness eventually was found. The witness claimed that she had seen Amy with Alistair Douglas, the bass player for the ship's band, and the two were walking together up to the deck above her. Around 10 minutes later, Alistair returned by himself. Amy's brother Brad mentioned that shortly after Amy's disappearance, Alistair said that he, quote, felt bad about what happened to her. This was obviously more than a little odd for someone to say so early on, when authorities hadn't even been alerted yet towards Amy's disappearance and a thorough search hadn't been conducted. According to Amy's family, the ship's crew were generally quite interested in her, more than they seemed to be in the average passenger. Her mother, Iva, recounted that a waiter of one of the ship's restaurants had approached her and Ron and asked where Amy was, because he and a few other people he knew wanted to take her to a place called Carlos and Charlie's. Despite feeling uncomfortable with the waiter's forwardness, once Amy returned to her parents, they relayed the message to their daughter. Amy immediately appeared unsettled and firmly stated that they were creepy and she wasn't going to go anywhere with them. Amy had also mentioned that Alistair Douglas had been hitting on her rather aggressively and that she thought he was a jerk and had told him to back off. This makes the fact that she was seen with him at all, never mind the fact that he was the last person seen with her, even more bizarre and suspicious. But there was something even stranger that occurred involving the band. According to Amy's brother Brad, he went to look for her after Ron awoke their mother at about 7 a.m. to tell her that he couldn't find Amy anywhere. Brad was soon approached by members of the band who said they were, quote, sorry to hear about his sister. But this was before anyone had been alerted that Amy was missing to begin with. Despite the consequent investigation, no one within the band has been deemed a suspect by authorities in Amy's disappearance. Her family pleaded with the crew of the ship to put out a message on the loudspeaker, but they
don't always have
refused
to pay you.
due to how early
No,
it was,
no.
and the ship was beginning to dock
You
as
just-
it arrived
you
in
can lay there
Curacao. The
and be
family
content.
begged for the crew not to drop the gangplank, not to let anyone off the ship, but the crew was surprisingly resistant towards helping. They only made an announcement once most people had already disembarked for the day. Around lunchtime, the captain allowed the ship to be searched, yet nothing turned up. He told the family that he had searched every area of the ship and hadn't found Amy, so she must not have been on the ship anymore. When the family requested that he put out a photo of Amy, the captain refused, saying it would disturb the other guests. The captain went on to say that Amy had likely gone overboard, but that was highly unlikely for a couple of reasons. The first reason was that Amy was a very strong swimmer, but also, despite her love for the water, Amy was not fond of the open ocean and found it frightening to a degree that she wouldn't even step up to the railing on the side of the ship and had to be convinced to by her family when they assured her that they would hold on to her. Despite a 4-day search by the Dutch Caribbean Coast Guard, who utilized 3 helicopters and a radar plane, There was no trace of Amy found anywhere. Amy's family believes that she was kidnapped and sold into sex slavery operating on the islands, and that she was still alive. And unfortunately, there's some evidence to support this theory, and an important piece of it came in the form of a lead from a man named David Carmichael, who had been visiting Curacao in August of 1998, about 5 months after Amy disappeared. David was at the beach when he spotted 3 people walking close by, a young woman and 2 men who walked at her sides as though they may have been escorting her somewhere. The woman had 2 visible tattoos, a Chinese symbol and a Tasmanian devil spinning a basketball. Amy had 4 tattoos in total, a sun on her lower back, a gecko around her navel, and a Chinese symbol on her ankle. And on her shoulder was a baby Tasmanian devil spinning a basketball. There's no doubt this woman would have been Amy. The woman made eye contact with David as they got closer, and he later stated that she appeared as though she wanted his attention and was going to say something to him, but as soon as she tried, the men she was with forced her away, and David soon lost sight of her. It wouldn't be until 9 months later, when David saw a segment on TV discussing Amy's disappearance, that he realized the woman he saw on the beach that day was definitely Amy Lynn Bradley. But this was far from the only lead. Another came from a U.S. Navy officer in 1999. He was visiting a brothel when he was approached by a young woman who begged him for help. She said her name was Amy Bradley, but the officer had never heard of her. He told her that there was a naval ship very close by, just down the road, but she insisted that he didn't understand. She couldn't just leave on her own. But as the officer had no idea who she was, and no clue she was missing at all, and because he would have faced consequences if his superiors found out that he was in a brothel to begin with, he left. He later saw Amy on the cover of People magazine, much to his shock. The Bradley family was contacted in 1999 by a retired Navy SEAL named Frank Jones, who claimed to have a number of capable professionals working beneath him who would be able to track down Amy's location and bring her home. The Bradley family put their faith and their money into Frank, who happily took the latter and blew it all on drinks and gambling instead of finding Amy. Eventually, he claimed to have found Amy and assured the Bradley family that he was preparing a rescue operation, but that it required additional funds. All in all, the Bradleys, with financial assistance, paid Frank over $200,000, for which he never delivered on a single promise. Thankfully, he was later charged, convicted, and ordered to pay back the money, as well as sentenced to 5 years in prison, but the family's time after Amy's disappearance was wasted. One lead in particular came years later, and remains to this day as one of the most shocking of them all. The Bradley family received an email from a sender who wished to remain anonymous 7 years after Amy vanished. In the email, there were 2 photos that appeared to show Amy with long hair, wearing revealing clothing, and in suggestive poses. The photos came from a website for sexual escorts and were found among many other photos of different women with their names, or perhaps more accurately pseudonyms, beneath each set of photos. One in particular stood out to the sender, a woman labeled Jas, and the Bradley family believes that these photos are likely of Amy herself, and they're far from alone. Many forensic specialists have also examined the photos and images of Amy and have concluded that, when measuring certain features of the face that don't change over time, it's a solid match. It's impossible to confirm if the woman named Jas and Amy are truly one and the same, and it's unlikely it will ever be found out either. Also in 2005, 7 years after Amy's disappearance, a woman named Judy Maurer was in a department store restroom in Barbados. 3 men entered the restroom, escorting a woman who they began to threaten once inside, telling her that they'd kill her if she didn't follow through on a deal. Once the men had stepped out of the restroom, Judy approached the woman, who was clearly distraught, to make sure she was okay. The woman told Judy her name was Amy and that she was from Virginia, and it was at that point that the 3 men stormed back into the bathroom and took Amy away. Judy contacted authorities and provided a description of the 3 men, of which composite sketches were made, yet all 3 men have never been identified. Some sources claim that other sightings of Amy occurred within the vicinity of the department store that same day, potentially with a fourth man escorting Amy with the others. They all allegedly walked in a fashion which kept her surrounded. Unfortunately, nothing has come from this lead. As time has passed, more leads have surfaced, yet most have quickly fizzled out. But one potential answer to Amy's condition arrived over a decade after she vanished. But tragically, due to a lack of care from authorities, it was never investigated and was especially discouraging and upsetting. A jawbone washed up on the shore in Aruba in 2010. However, due to the international attention Natalie Holloway was receiving due to her disappearance, authorities only checked to see if the jawbone belonged to Natalie. And once they determined that it wasn't hers, instead of testing it for one of the other missing persons cases they had before them, they chose not to test it further. And so the potential closure for the Bradleys or any other suffering families desperate for answers regarding their lost loved ones was snuffed out. The Bradley family has endured immense heartache and have had their hopes shattered many times in their search for Amy. And on March 24th, 2010, 12 years to the day after her disappearance, Amy Lynn Bradley was declared legally dead. Yet the Bradley family still holds on to hope that they will one day be reunited with Amy. The FBI is currently offering a $25,000 reward for any information that could lead to the recovery of Amy Lynn Bradley or to an arrest conviction for those responsible for her disappearance. The Bradley family is also offering a
Pumpkin spice will invade all coffee shops. Here's a secret. Pumpkin spice is mostly just cinnamon. But since it's
something to talk about. Let's get some pumpkin to talk about. Talk about it. Something to talk about. Let's get some pumpkins talking about. Ah, that'd be horrible. I feel good. That was really good. I like that one. Glad he's still doing stuff.
Hello, my internet denizens. Yes,
He was on
another
America's
edition
Got Talent.
of a former network executive reaction. As you've noticed, if you've watched my previous videos, that I don't hate everything about Hollywood, and I've tried to explain to you that my job when I was an executive in charge of production, well, it was to make my bosses believe that the production company was doing as they demanded, and to make the production company think I was 100% supporting them. Basically, I was a filthy liar that tried to keep everyone happy, just long enough for the production to be done and aired. I got to keep my job only if the show was successful, not because it was good. With that housekeeping out of the way, let's get into the meat of this episode, the premise of which is that Hollywood millennials hate the William Shatner version of Captain Kirk. And I would add Luke Skywalker also. Well, not the William Shatner version of Luke Skywalker. I worded that wrong. Anyway, you know what I mean. Yes, things sure are different. The movies are different, and the scripts are different from before. I'm using the word different instead of worse. There are a shit ton of vein-popping YouTube videos on the state of creative content already. Curiously, mostly about movies and streaming services. Nothing about network TV. After I did my TV guide show, it was amazing to see and read just how irrelevant network TV is to most of you. Can one be an anime nut and be a fan of sitcoms at the same time? I don't know. Something for another show. The consensus on YouTube, at least, is that most stuff out there is crap. And getting crappier as your favorite properties are being morphed into unrecognizable experiences. I'm saying things are different rather than worse, because worse can be fixed. Different is here to stay. We might alter the flow by voting with our wallets, though it seems the studios prefer to weather the woke failures rather than address the root cause, which is the influence of millennial producers and writers. Of course, this is a broad generalization. And apologies to those of you who are not like your diversity, inclusion, equity obsessed weenie roasters. But I've never met a group less interested in the history, if not of just filmmaking, but history of anything. It's like there's a very clear demarcation line. Nothing before 1980 matters. Not China's great leap forward, Cromwell's war with King Charles I, nor the disappearance of Napoleon's penis. None of these things are of interest to millennials. Maybe there's a secret cabal of passionate young filmmakers who are poised to oust this collection of pronoun pedophiles. I certainly hope so. I have this hypothesis that this generation of writers, well, they know nothing about subtext and are just plain fucking lazy. Representation is everything. Gender swap a character? Done. Gay characters sloppy kissing each other? Done. Weepy straight men? Done. Strong women who dress like men? Done. That, my friends, represents the complete, groundbreaking creative toolkit of writers these days. And here is where my thesis comes in, based on the notion that Hollywood's millennials consciously or unconsciously absolutely hate the William Shatner version of Captain Kirk, or at least the idea. He is the beacon of their ire. He represents everything they want to change. You can see it in the way they write male characters now, and look no further than the J.J. Abrams Chris Pine version of Kirk, filled with self-doubt. I don't blame Pine, it's the writing. And of course, they just had to do the parallel universe thing so they could give us a weepy Spock also. Millennials don't like the fact that Shatner's Kirk was a leader, obnoxious, and a full-on ladies' man who would jump any alien with a vagina, no matter where that vagina was. Oh, they hated that. They hated that he treated everyone on the crew equally. They hated that there was a bromance between Spock, Kirk, and McCoy, and none of them had any extra things going on, as far as I could tell. For sure, they hated Shatner's performance. Melodramatic, hammy at times, but totally alpha male. All you have to do is witness the neutered penguins they have as men on Star Trek Discovery to realize just how much they hated Shatner's Kirk. I would also extend that hatred to Luke Skywalker. Someone decided that the Rey character had to be the most powerful person in the movie, which is why they had to sequester Luke as a weepy old man masturbating on a rock outcropping. Speaking of lightsaber. But no, can't have a man outshining the Force's female femme fatale Rey. I'm not going to dissect The Force Awakens because it has already been beaten to death, but no one can disagree with just how bad the script was on that movie. And the worst part is, as I wrote earlier, the gender and race swapping represents the limits of this gang's bag of tricks. And they are so proud of themselves. You can feel it in the plot lines dripping with socially righteous arrogance. There was a time when characters fulfilled the need of the story, and aspects of their character would inform their performances. As an audience, you enjoyed the textures presented by not knowing the full story of the character. Not anymore. We have to know everything about them. Their sexual preferences, their deep-seated fears. No one knows how to write just a story and have everyone shut up about that other stuff. Many thousands of years ago, Hollywood scriptwriters were required to write the first draft of a script in subtext and then add the dialogue later. Graham Greene, back in the 40s and 50s, discussed the process. So here is this guy with many brilliant best-selling books, and he wasn't allowed to just write a script and get it shot. No, he was required to learn the process. Greene was an accomplished novelist who had to first learn how to write screenplays.
Did you notice in parts 7 through 9, there's an odd one out of the naming scheme? There's JoJo-Lin, JoJo Lands, and Steel Ball Run? But why are two parts named after JoJo and the others named after Gyro? Well, today I'm going to walk you through the reasons for why this happened. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure has been in serialization for 30 years and is well on its way to entering its likely final part. Currently, there's little information still surrounding it, as author Hirohiko Araki takes a well-deserved break. One of the biggest questions is still outstanding. Why is Part 9 tentatively called JoJo Lands? Will we have an
Previously on Raft.
By putting these here, we will have eggs soon.
watched any of the Darrell Brooks trial? No. Only, like, the clip that went viral of him arguing with the judge. I know he's representing himself. I also heard that he built a fort. Like, he got removed from the court and built a fort out of boxes to hide in or some shit. Like, I know it's goofy. I know he's a bit of an oddball.
He has quieted down. I haven't heard him in a while. If you could move the second one because it can interfere with the microphone as well. And the third.
Well, now you've ruined his whole defense.
Mr. Brooks, I'm going to ask you for a third time. Do you have any requests as it relates to the jury instructions? Any requests for instructions that aren't included that you believe should be included? Any edits or deletions from the packet that has been provided to you? Sir, I'm not going to provide a legal explanation other than to say I've reviewed that. Your objection is noted.
In 2016, a couple was walking up this dirt path on this wooded hillside when they came up to this huge barbed wire fence. And all over this fence were signs saying no trespassing and warning people that what was on the other side of this fence was very dangerous. But the couple ignored these signs and slipped through a break in the fence to the other side and just kept on walking. Minutes later, that couple would come face to face with a monster. But before we get into that story, if you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious delivered in story format, then you've come to the right place because that's all we do, and we upload once a week. So, if that's of interest to you, please offer to do the like button's dishes, but be sure to leave all of the cups and bowls right side up inside of their dishwasher. Also, please subscribe to our channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our weekly uploads. Okay, let's get into today's story.
Stretchy, stretchy, stretch, stretch, stretchy, stretchy,
While she was in high school in Dayton, Ohio, Raquel Bain became known as a bit of a thrill seeker, primarily because she would do something called car surfing, which is exactly what it sounds like. She would climb onto the exterior of cars and hold on to the roof while somebody else drove it around. In addition to seeking out these physical thrills, Raquel was also drawn to psychological ones, like going to places that were supposedly haunted and seeing if she could spook herself. Following high school, Raquel kind of calmed down and became less of the wild teenager she was known for being, and instead she really focused on building a life and a career for herself. And so she would go to college and she would earn her degree in surgical technologies, and then by 2009 she was employed full-time as a surgical assistant in Dayton. Also around that time, she had her first child, a son, who she adored. But despite creating this life full of stereotypically adult, mature things like having a career and starting a family, deep down, Raquel was still very much the thrill-seeking wild teenager she was back in high school. But as an adult, she just never had time to go seek out those thrills. So, with that in mind, fast forward to April of 2016. By this point, Raquel is 26 years old, and that month, a very rare weekend popped up where Raquel did not have to work and she didn't have any childcare responsibilities. And so, wanting to take advantage of this free time, Raquel asked her boyfriend, 41-year-old David Nee, if he would join her on a road trip that weekend to Louisville, Kentucky, where Raquel wanted to check out the infamously scary Waverly Hills Sanatorium. Back in the 1900s, Waverly Hills was a place where tuberculosis patients were sent. Tuberculosis, or TB for short, is an infection of the lungs and it can be deadly. Today, there's a cure for it, but back in the early 1900s, there wasn't. And so most of the people who went to Waverly Hills died there, and usually very slowly and painfully and in total isolation from their families, because in virtue of being sent to Waverly Hills, they were effectively being quarantined to stop the spread of the disease. Waverly Hills would eventually shut down permanently in 1961 because by that point the cure had been found, and after it shut down, the building basically just sat there. Nobody else came in and turned it into anything else. And so this building is basically abandoned, and lots of people began sneaking in to see what it was like in there, and a shocking number of these trespassers reported seeing ghosts inside.
Chasing your tail.
Today, the sanatorium
You
is
weirdo.
still very much in the same condition it was left in, but the Waverly Hills Historical Society has stepped in and made it very hard for people to sneak into the building. However, knowing people do want to go in and look around, the Historical Society has begun offering guided tours of the sanatorium, and these tours are given exclusively at night to increase the spooky effect. And so David, who had only been dating Raquel for a month when she asked him to come with her to the sanatorium, he was not really that keen on doing this. It did not really appeal to him to go walking around this totally terrifying place, but he could tell it was important to Raquel. She was really excited about it, and so he agreed to go. A few days later, on the late afternoon of April 23rd, the new couple left Raquel's place, they climbed into the car, and they began driving south. 3 hours later, they arrived in Louisville and they stopped to get dinner. And then after they were done eating, they looked at the time and realized it was only about 6:45 p.m. and the tour they had scheduled at the sanatorium was not until 10 p.m. So they had a few hours to kill. And before David could suggest anything, Raquel already had the perfect idea of how they should kill this time. She told David that earlier that day, she had learned about a spot just outside of Louisville that might actually be more terrifying than the sanatorium they had come all this way to see. And so Raquel wanted to spend these few hours checking out this new spooky spot. This spooky spot was a rickety old, narrow, abandoned-looking bridge called the Pope Lick Trestle. It's located just east of downtown Louisville in this heavily wooded area. The bridge is about 800
Quit
feet
licking me.
long, and at its highest point, right in the middle of the bridge, it's about 90 to 100 feet off the ground. And this bridge connects the tops of two of the bigger rolling hills in the area. But the bridge's physical appearance has nothing to do with why it's considered so spooky. The reason the Pope Lick Trestle has become a central part of Kentucky folklore is because locals say there is a monster called the Pope Lick Monster that lives underneath the bridge. It's half goat, half man, and when anyone is near this bridge at night, this monster is supposed to come out from underneath this bridge, and then what happens next is very ambiguous. It kind of depends on who you're talking to, but generally speaking, once the Pope Lick monster has emerged and it sees you, you're dead. Now, how you die ranges from the monster leaping out and attacking you with an axe to the monster using some sort of mind control to lure you up onto the bridge where you leap off. David, after hearing this suggestion, was again not really that keen to go do this really terrifying sounding thing, but seeing the excitement in his girlfriend's face, he agreed to go. And so the two left the restaurant, they climbed back in the car, and they drove for about 15 or 20 minutes to the Pope Lick Trestle Bridge. The bridge actually passed over a relatively main road, and so the couple parked just off the side of this main road, and then once they were outside, they began looking for a pathway up this hillside to get up to the bridge. And very quickly, they found a well-worn dirt path that snaked up the side of this wooded hillside that looked very much like it would bring them up to the bridge. So with Raquel in front and David behind her, they began walking up this dirt path. And as they're walking, they start to see signs that clearly say, "No trespassing." But they ignore them because they're looking at this path thinking, okay, lots of people clearly come up here, so we've got to be okay. And so they keep on walking up this path, and they're getting closer and closer to the top of this hill where they think it's going to connect with this bridge. And right as they're getting close, they see there's this huge chain link fence, this 8-foot tall chain link fence with barbed wire across the top that extends in either direction out of view. And so the couple walks up to this fence, and there are more signs that say no trespassing, private property, and there are additional warning signs saying that what is on the other side of this fence is also just plain dangerous. So turn around and leave. Every fall, when the leaves start to turn colors and the weather starts to get cool, people flock in droves to their nearest coffee shop to order a pumpkin spice latte. And every year when I see this phenomenon occur, I think to myself, how hasn't anyone started a seasonal eel teeth and milk sandwich restaurant? It's such an obvious compliment to the pumpkin spice latte. Well, again, that's... They were in this clearing, they were able to turn and they could actually see the bridge. It was only a couple hundred feet away from them, and it was totally intimidating. By this point, it's totally dark out, and from their perspective, all they see is this very narrow bridge that they know is 100 feet off the ground at certain points, and they can see there's no guardrails on either side of this bridge. It would have almost looked like a tightrope kind of extending off into the darkness. But even if the couple was really intimidated by the sight of this bridge and with all these warning signs before it, they were able to put their fear aside and just keep on going. And so with David now in the lead and Raquel behind him, they walked the couple of hundred feet over to the start of this narrow bridge, and when they got there, without actually stepping onto the bridge, David came to a stop, he turned around to face Raquel, and he gestured for her to come stand next to him so they could take a selfie with the bridge in the background. Because David, at this point, is thinking, we're not going to go on this bridge. We're just going to look at this bridge, take some pictures, and then we'll go. But Raquel, who he's looking at, gesturing to come stand with him, just walks right past him, onto the bridge, and takes several steps out onto this narrow, rickety old thing, and then she stops, turns around, and gestures for David to come with her and walk across the entire bridge. And David, again, is having his second thoughts, but he sees Raquel wants to do this, and so he agrees to go. After they had walked about 100, maybe 200 feet across this bridge, the two of them just started laughing because it was totally exhilarating what they were doing. Not so much the quest for the Popelik monster, but rather the very real risk they were taking walking this tightrope bridge in the middle of the night. The couple would continue to very cautiously but quickly make their way across this bridge, and when they reached about the halfway point, when they were at the highest point from the ground, the bridge itself begins to shake. And then from behind them, they hear this loud grinding sound. And so the couple, they whip their heads around and they see there are these two bright glowing lights that are looking right at them all the way on the start of the bridge. And they realize it's a train. When Raquel and David walked up that dirt path and snuck through the fence and reached the top of the hill and could actually see the Popelik Trestle Bridge, they would have also seen the train tracks in the hillside that clearly extended onto the Popelik Trestle and went across the bridge. This was a train bridge. They would have seen that. But it's assumed that the couple, who didn't live in the area and so didn't know much about the Popelik Trestle, it's assumed they thought, well, you know, this is a train bridge, but it's got to be abandoned. It certainly looks abandoned, and it does. It looks totally old. It does not... Raquel doing the same thing, but she's not really moving very quickly. And finally, David gets in position, hanging off the edge of this bridge on these wooden slats, and he sees Raquel. She's not quite there, and then the train comes flying through, strikes Raquel, and sends her flying off to the ground below. David will somehow manage
6'5".
as this train went past him, and then once the train had passed him, he pulled himself back up onto tracks. He ran the rest of the way across the bridge. He went down that hillside, and when he found Raquel, it was immediately apparent that she was deceased. In the end, the railroad was not issued any citations or sued for negligence. It was determined they did their due diligence by setting up that 8-foot-tall barbed wire fence with all those signs telling people to stay back and warning people about the hazards of going past this fence. And so it was actually David who got in trouble for this tragedy. He was cited and charged with a felony of unlawfully disrupting and or delaying a train causing financial injury. He would plead to a lesser charge of trespassing and would be fined $2,700. Shockingly, this tragedy is just one of many that have occurred on the Hopeless Country Bridge. Since the bridge's construction in the 1800s,
Where'd it go to?
dozens of people who have died on this bridge, and several of these deaths, many of them fairly recent, the last 20 or so years, have occurred under the same conditions as Raquel's. People went looking for the Popeland monster and were struck by. So that's going to do it. If you got something out of today's episode and haven't done this already, please offer to do the like button feature. But be sure to leave the cups and bowls right side up in their dishwasher. Also, please subscribe to our channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our weekly uploads. We now have a podcast called the Fallen Podcast, which puts out brand new exclusive stories on Monday mornings, and on Thursday mornings we put out remastered audio of our best YouTube videos. That podcast is available on all platforms right now, but in just a couple of days, on November 1st, 2022, it will only be available on Amazon Music. We now have a registered 501c3 charitable organization called the Mr. Ballin Foundation that makes it as easy as possible for you to join me, my family, and my team in supporting those whose lives have been most impacted by violence and hate crime. Monthly donors to the Mr. Ballin Foundation Honor Them Society will receive free gifts and exclusive invites to special live events. But the real reward is helping to create a new ending to the story for victims of violent crime. Go to MrBallin.Foundation, click on Get Involved to join the Honor Them Society. We also have 2 additional YouTube channels, Mr. Ballin Shorts and Mr. Ballin as usual. We also put out near-daily content on TikTok, Facebook, and Snapchat. All of those channels are just called Mr. Ballin. If you want to get in touch with me, please follow me on any major social media platform and then send me a text message.
57171.
We also have some cool merchandise, so head on over to shopmrballin.com and look. And if you have a story suggestion, please submit it to our subreddit, just called Mr. Ballin, with link in the description below. So whether I see you on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Reddit, YouTube, Facebook, other YouTube channels, podcasts, wherever, just know that I really appreciate your support. Until next time, guys, do it.
In April of 2006, the small-town medical hospital collapsed in terrible news. 3 members of the patient's family had been murdered, and a second child missing. Now, we all hold our own perceptions of what a screech will look like, and nobody expected that the family's youngest daughter could be in on this terrible crime. But as you will soon discover, there were many awful motives unfurled behind the eyes of this child. This case is a strange one to say the least. It features the internet of the 2000s, an extremely passionate romance, and apparently 3 single werewolves. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, folks. My name is Adrian. There's a certain time of day, and a certain time of night. The sun sets, the weather cools, no need to change. Winds chill, like the trees, darkness remains. Takes over. It all occurs during that brief period of time known as the Twilight Tower Zone.
Perspective is paramount. Remembering the experiences that formed your point of view can make all the difference when life pegs you as an insignificant peon, or you find yourself on top of the world. Of course, don't lose your noggin in the clouds. An aeroplane of reality might crash right into that oversized cranium and send you hurtling toward the earth. Whether you finish first or last, consider this a reminder to never lose your head, or you might find yourself on the wrong side of your own personal Twilight-tober zone. We've come to the end of Twilight-tober Zone 2022. In year 1, we finished on The Chaser. Last year, we finished on the excellent episode Shadowplay. And this year, we end on The Little People. I'd say we're 1 for 3 with these finales so far. Navigator Peter Craig and Commander William Fletcher are Earth astronauts stranded on a barren foreign planet. Fletcher is determined to fix his ship and return home, but he has trouble with Craig, who has a clear problem with authority. After thinking he hears voices in the distance, Craig soon takes extended walks away from the ship area. When pressed about this, the Navigator reveals he's discovered a settlement of people nearby. The only thing is, they're basically microscopic. Craig has named himself their deity and repeatedly crushes parts of their little world to demand respect and praise. Fletcher tries to stop him, but becomes preoccupied with fixing the ship to escape their current predicament. When he finally gets the spacecraft up and running, the commander goes to confront his navigator and finds the situation with the little people has become much worse. The Little People walks the line of goofy and trying to have a strong moral. Other installments do this flawlessly, especially ones written by Rod Serling, as this one here is. I'm not going to say it's awful, and I could see plenty of people having a great time with this story, but it's not really among my favorites. It was director William Claxton's weakest of the 3 zones he had done at this point. However, I don't think that's really his fault. I'm not sure how they could have improved this script all that much. They used aerial footage to give a sense of scale to the tiny alien population's living area. Superimposing a hand or foot over the footage didn't do all that much to help the visual, but it probably sounded like a good idea at the time. Maybe having a view of the humans from the small alien's perspective would have helped to establish the scope of everything. Heck, even using moving miniatures would have lent a cheesy but charming aspect to this portion of the episode. The 2 main actors here are kind of a mixed bag. I really like Claude Akins, and his role in the very well-known classic The Monsters Are Due on Maple Street basically made him a Twilight Zone legend. His strong sense of morality carries over to the Little People, and there's not one moment where you don't buy him being a good guy.
Craig, they're people. They're flesh and blood. In that respect, they're no different than us. Stop it! Stop it, created.
Alright. Alright, I'm gonna come back here with the Cult of the Lamb if you guys are interested. So, until then, I hope King's Refuge signing out.